Mastermind Agent is proud to present Success Calls. Top real estate agents from across North America reveal their success secrets, strategies, and systems in up-close and personal interviews. You can find all the calls at www.mastermindagent.com.
Hi, I'm Mike Cerrone with Mastermind Agent, and welcome to Success Calls. This month's top agent is Scott Kato with Keller Williams in Long Beach, California. Welcome to the call, Scott.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Hey, Scott, it's great to have you here. Excited to talk to you and learn about your business. But before we do, let's go back for a minute and talk about what you did before you got into real estate.
Wow. So in real estate, before real estate, I was a operations manager for a big retail franchise music store. So my last job with them was with Sam Ash Music. I ran operations for the tri-state area, based out of Manhattan, New York. Our corporate headquarters was in Long Island. Basically I oversaw inventory control for, at that time, was 38 stores nationwide.
Wow. So you must have been very familiar with and worked a lot of systems.
Actually, yeah, true. Yep.
Cool. And what made you decide to get out of that and into real estate?
A buddy of mine actually, my father had sent me the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Read that book and contacted my best friend in California. I was in New York at the time. And we started talking. He said, we got to flip homes. So he flew me out to California because I knew Long Beach. I'm from Southern California originally. And I knew at some point I was coming back to SoCal. And so we had met with a couple larger entities that were running down at the trustee sales, buying properties all cash. And we had met with them, and we quickly realized that you need to have a big bankroll, and they don't finance trustee sales. And so we kind of went back. I flew back to California a little depressed, and he went back to his 9-to-5 job. And we said, hey, I'm going to get my real estate license. Let's continue this conversation. You get your general contractor's license, and we'll reconnect. And then fast forward, after getting in the business, about 9 years later, we launched an investment group and raised up to $8 million in flipping homes at the trustee sales.
Wow.
We could probably get into more details on that later, and that's kind of progressing how I got into real estate.
Well, I want to get into that now. Everybody has a different glide path and a way in, and yours is very interesting and a bit unique. So you wanted to get into these trustee sales, want to buy some foreclosure properties and get them at a bargain and fix them up. And you all decided you were going to have one person do the license and one person get the general contractor. Did you say you were the one getting the license?
The real estate license, correct. That was
Okay.
me.
And did you do that right away? Because you said you went back. How long before you guys got back together and actually implemented this plan?
Yeah. Actually, it was within 12 months. So I started my principal course online while I was in New York. And I remember vividly, the day was about August 19th, 2001, when I moved back. I'm sorry, 2002 is when I moved back. And my test date was lined up for the second week of September. Passed it on my first time, which, tests are a challenge for me. But I think when you want something, you work towards it. And that was my first test actually going through and prospering. And then January 1st is when 2003 is when I hit the ground running, aligned myself with Century 21 with the training. Quickly transitioned over to Coldwell Banker because, like most agents, I wanted to sell multi-million-dollar homes. And as you drive up the coast to California on the 101, it's Coldwell Banker, Coldwell Banker, Coldwell Banker. And I said, I got to align myself with Coldwell Banker. My first year in the business was in 2003. And I sold about 14 homes and just over about 135,000 in GCI in my first year.
Wow, that's great. That was a nice start. Were you also working the investment side of that first year?
No, not at all. It was traditional open houses, sphere of influence. Once I realized how to touch my database and start succeeding through others. But I would say it was more of the shotgun approach. I did it all or tried everything, I should say. And I just gravitated towards open houses. I felt that people were coming to me to see the home. Therefore, I had the right to ask them questions, where cold calling or door knocking wasn't my cup of tea. Actually, I've never door knocked one door in my career, and I've never made a cold call in my career. It's always been lead follow-up.
First, a quick word from our sponsor, RealGTV, Real Estate Agent Lead Generation Television. Need more referrals? Get a free script and simple 3-part plan used by a top agent to receive and close 74 referral transactions in 1 year. Just go to freereferralscript.com. That's freereferralscript.com. Now, back to the show.
So you're okay once you get the lead and you know who they are. You have no problem calling them and following up. It was just that how was the initial contact going to happen? Were you going to go after them, or were they going to come to you?
Well, it was generally every weekend. In fact, I started out doing weekend open houses, and I quickly transitioned to 7 days a week. I would basically borrow somebody's signs, stick them in the ground, their listings, marketing their name in the neighborhood, not me. And I was 7 days a week, and everything that I would do in the office, I just did it at an open house. You know, the little things of setting up your email signature. Kind of back then, we were very hands-on with the website, and we had to do all the back end and put all the data. It wasn't IDX. It wasn't just pulling from all these different portals. We had to manually upload pictures and resize them. And, you know, just to get a listing on your website could take you hours. And that's what I would do at my open houses. I would promote other people's open houses, and I'd create my own postcards.
So you turned the open house into your office.
Absolutely.
And now, how many hours a day were you there?
At least 6 hours. It depended on the open house. I mean, I can remember back then that I would select vacant homes at the time, so I could come and go as I pleased. Some of them were owner occupied, but I wouldn't necessarily hang my hat in there every day. It was really when I would find the vacant one, and the agent would say, "Yeah, have at it." And I would
Great. So you just asked other agents in your office if you could hold it open. You probably used the promotion you just did with us, that you're going to promote them by using their signage and directional arrows, and they're going to get their name out in the public. They can tell their seller you're doing something, and it was a win-win.
Yep, absolutely.
Very nice. And then how were you getting people in? It sounds like signage was the key for you to get somebody to come by your open house.
That's all it was, actually. It was just signage. I wouldn't flyer, drop, or door knock because they weren't necessarily my listings. So I just didn't have the resources. And as a new agent, I didn't have the financial output to go and market it in other ways that we might do today.
Now, I want to clarify something for people. You said that you and your buddy did eventually get together and create an investment company and $8 million in assets and the like. It sounds like that happened later. How many years had you had your license before that occurred?
You know, I was up and running in 2003, January, and we didn't start Van Gold development until 2009.
Okay, very good. So you had your feet wet for about 6 years in real estate before that came about. Yeah, I just want to clarify for people, you didn't have $8 million when you started.
No, not at all. Not at all. That's correct. I just started traditional buy and sell, helping friends and family, prospecting for new business. Fast forward, maybe in 2006, I did acquire my first asset that I did flip on my own. Made $125,000 in 6 months. And then that's kind of went on to the next one and went on to the next one. And then I was still helping people. Now I'm geographic farming. You know, I have a farm. My sphere of influence is now getting dripped on purposefully. And then I was just finding and acquiring assets on my own and then renovating them and then putting them back on the market and then selling them. And then in about 2007, a gentleman in my office, Neil Thompson, has said, "Hey, Scott, look at this. I'm looking at the tax rules, and these guys bought this house for $200,000, and my clients missed out on it, but it's on the market for $360 for, I can't remember the time frame, for like 60 days later. How are they doing this?" And we were looking at it. Then we called our title rep, and then they're explaining that it looks like they're buying this at trustee sale. And so Neil said, "I'm going to research this, and let me see if I can add some color to this." A couple of weeks had gone by, and Neil comes back and says, "Hey, I figured it out. I've been hanging out there every morning and I'm seeing who the players are. And it's a very tight-lipped community. It's like the good old boys, cowboys, where they just don't really tell you much. But there was a gentleman there who taught a class on the weekends on how this looks, who the players are. And Neil had took that class and encouraged me to take it. After that, we started to go together and just kind of create our own dry runs. We would identify opportunities from the reports, and we'd select the ones that we wanted to model out, perform out. And then, we'd find what our acquisition cost would be. We would do an actual drive-by to come up with a preliminary budget. And then we knew what our ARV would be, after renovation value would be. And so we said, okay, for this property, it's going to if it goes out today, it's scheduled to go. Opening bid is, say, whatever, $300,000. We knew that we were going to pay no more than $360 because we figured we needed $50,000 in renovation, and we knew our out was going to be at whatever. So then we would have our numbers, and then when they'd go to auction, we'd get excited, we'd listen in, and the properties were closing exactly where our numbers were aligning with. So we felt like we're on the right track. Now we need to go raise some capital. So we went to our portfolio, our clients, our past clients. We started calling all our investor clients and explaining it. And one of Neil's past clients works for a heavy money manager in Newport Beach and said, hey, we got some capital on the sidelines. Let me present this to my boss. And got us a face-to-face. It was a 6-month process because we had to form an entity, get all of the structure, and they gave us $1 million to start with. And that million went from 1 million to 2 million to 4 million to 8 million. And then we were going to go gangbuster to 16 million. And then fast forward till about 2011, there was a lot of Asia and European money coming in, and they were acquiring these assets for what our exit strategy, what our ARV was going to be. And we were thinking, they are going to take a bath. And they did. But their pockets were so deep that they could weather the storm and learn from it. That space got too tight for us. We ventured out. We started to align with short sale agents and REO agents in SoCal. And so we started to work through that channel afterwards.
Wow, that's fantastic. So you've got multiple directions of your business. Thank you for walking us down the investment side. Let's go back to the brokerage side. You told us about how you got started. Appreciate that. But let's fast forward to today. Let's talk about what the business looks like today. I'm going to do this. Let's go through a quick speed round to get people kind of a big picture fast. So first of all, what's the name of the team?
The name of my real estate team is Kato Group.
The Kato Group. Cool. Yep. And what is the service area?
We're primarily in Southern California, specifically Long Beach, California, Seal Beach, Huntington Beach. But we do have clients that go down south from San Clemente and as far north as Pasadena, West LA, and then up the 605 corridor. But the core of our business, our friends and family, Seal Beach and Long Beach, California.
Very good. And so how long have you been licensed now? You said 2003, so about 17 years?
Yep. Got licensed, officially passed the test in September 2002, went into action January 1st, 2003.
Very good. And how many homes did you sell last year, and what was the sales volume?
Last year, we sold roughly 75 homes, just shy of 40 million. But I do want to note, though, that I am a student of The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, the book from Keller Williams, Gary Keller. And I have removed myself from the business. So in the last 3 years, I haven't personally sold or bought or helped a client, I should say. And leveraging the systems and models and attracting talented people, they run the business for me.
Oh, very cool. So you've achieved the 7th level.
That's correct. Yeah.
Very nice. And what was the GCI last year?
Gross commission, I want to say we were at 750.
750. Very nice. All running without you there. That's pretty cool. Could you tell us, tell me what's your average sales price. Let me tell you what I did. I crunched the numbers backwards. I got 533,000. Sound about right?
Pretty good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. And do you recall last year when the business, what percentage of the business was coming from the buyers versus the sellers?
As of late, we've been buyer heavy. We have, which is a thing that we've been focusing on, to transition to capture our fair share of listings again. But last year we were about 65-35.
Very good. Thank you. And what was your best year? What year was that? And then what were the units sold, sales volume, GCI?
2013-14, we had a good run of over 100 units. So the best year we've had is 120 units at 50 million in sales, 1.2 million in GCI. That was probably 2012. 2013 was right behind it. I think everything was healthy. And if you remember, those were the times when things were bad, actually, for most agents. But what we figured out was that trustee sale was around the 2008-9 terms. So when most people were exiting the business, we really took off. And then things kind of settled down around 2014-15.
Do you know how many homes you've sold in your career?
I would for sure over 1,000. After that, I'm not sure. It's under 1,500 for sure. So I'm somewhere in there.
Very good.
1,000 to 1,500.
Now, the team, the way it is today, you said you've been out of production for about 3 years, but the team, the way it is today, how many members are there? In fact, let's just do this. Could you just give us a structure of the team, like who's on the titles on the
Sure.
team, what they're responsible for, how many people in that position?
Okay. So W-2 wise, we have Monica who is our director of operations. And Monica basically does 80% of the heavy lifting. Everything that is non-money producing activities falls on her plate. She has some leverage. She has a virtual assistant for herself who assists her. And then we have a transaction coordinator. And then we have Jessica, who's our director of sales. And then we have 3 agents on our team.
Very good. And the agents, they can work with buyers and sellers?
Yeah, they can. They can. Which is just a quick story. We would follow the model and they would earn the right to list homes, but they always started out as a buyer's agent. But what happened was I had this young guy on my team who absolutely crushed it. We had a ISA, inside sales agent, who was scrubbing the opportunities, all the Zillow leads. We were a big player back in the day, maybe 10,000 a month. We'd scrub them all and then hand them back to our agents. And this gentleman closed 34 transactions one year, 37 transactions the next year. And what I should have done, which I've learned, is I should have opened the doors to allow him to start to list homes because he wanted to grow his business. And I didn't recognize that. And so a little too late when he said he wanted more, he wanted to go do his own thing. I tried to hurry up and pivot, hire a showing assistant for him and start geographic farming with his face under the Kato group. But it was just a little too late. He tried it for a couple weeks and he just said, I just really want to go do this on my own. And so he left. And after that moment, I figured, you know what? We cannot hold people back. They got to be able to grow and evolve to the level that they want to go to. And as long as we have the platform, let them go for it. So yes, today agents can buy and sell straight out of the gates.
One of the things that people ask all the time when they're thinking about putting together a team, or even if they already have a team, is they get a little hung up on the compensation program for the agents. Could you tell us what you've come to? What works for you?
50-50 down the middle for the most part. That way it's their sphere of influence, or if it's a team lead, it's the same. I will say though, on a team lead, they do take, on Zillow internet leads, they get 40%. And the reason for that is because the director of sale gets a 10% override for assisting and helping them. So that way I don't have to do it. And the company, I've realized over time, can never take less than 50%. It just doesn't model out for me.
Very good. And that's good. So you've run numbers and you know that the max you can pay is 50%, no matter what the source of the lead is. And so that's just where you went.
That's right. I've done
clean.
That's right. I've done some where there's a rock star agent. I wanted him in my world. I attracted him over on his SOI. He said, I need 75%. And I was getting 25 after the office expenses, cost of sale, admin support, marketing support. I was literally running at maybe 3% margin on his SOI, and he was farming out all of my team leads to the other junior agents who aren't necessarily have the skill set to convert yet. So it was a very slippery slope where he was focusing on his SOI, leveraging my whole operation, people, and then the stuff where I got a higher split, he was giving it out and they weren't converting. And then I had to time that out and said, hey man, I love you, but I made a mistake on the arrangement and I can't unwind it. I get it. It's just not working out for me though. If you want to change it, we can change it. If you want to go, I understand that as well.
And what ended up happening?
He actually became a team leader for another office, for Keller Williams office.
Sure. So because you had overcompensated, it never worked out. You never made any money and he didn't stay with the team.
That's right.
Right. And that's a good lesson. That's a good lesson. Thank you for sharing that one. Let's do this, Scott. Let's talk about marketing and lead generation, how you're getting business in. My understanding is that last year you had about 80% repeat and referrals from your past clients, sphere of influence, business coming in and back through. So let's talk about how you're doing that. First of all, how big is your database of past clients and sphere of influence?
We market to our core database of about 350 people every single month. Now, outside leads, because again, we were accumulating a lot of cold leads via Zillow and Realtor.com over the years, and that database is over 10,000, just north of 10,000.
This is good. So you called it a core database of 350, and then you've got the generic database that got huge with all kinds of leads from wherever. Let's talk about the core. Who is in the core, and how did you establish that? How do people get into the core or get thrown out of the core? What's the core?
So it's our friends and family and past clients, people who know us, like us, and trust us. And now we're adding and making sure that we have all of our agents, friends, families, people who know them, like them, and trust them. We're actually bringing we have like a handful of their people. I want a minimum of 100 though into this database, because we have a system leveraged. It starts with Brian Buffini. If some may know that, item of value goes out at the beginning of the month via snail mail. On the 15th of the month, a piece goes out via email. So we're touching on direct mail, email, and then we throw 4 client appreciation parties a year. And it's just hammering the phones, text messaging, invitations to get them to show up to the parties. And then in between there, we sprinkle in a few pop buys.
It sounds like a simple plan, and we're going to break down that plan in a minute. I want to stay on that 350 for a second.
Sure.
Because that's a smaller number than most people would mention. But I love when you have a nice, small, tight group, because you can really cater to them. And I guess I should ask the question first. Are you doing something different for the 350 than you are for the 10,000?
Oh, absolutely. The 10,000 people aren't getting the direct mails. We're not spending money on them. All they get are phone calls. And sometimes we'll do some stealth cold email campaigns to get some interaction or to get the low-hanging fruit. But for the most part, the core is getting, again, everything that we just listed, the touches, and so our system is a 62 touch, documented on paper. We know when the touches go out every month, who's responsible, what's the cost for it, what's the message, and it's on our marketing calendar.
I want to come back to that 62 touch, but I don't want to leave the 350 yet. The 350, is that responsible for the 80% of the closings?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, that's where all the business is coming out. And so basically, if I'm doing my math right, 350 people are resulting in 60 closings.
That's about right.
That's pretty impressive if people start to do the math, because that's basically 1 in 20 is on your list is resulting in a closing. I think I did that right. Actually, it's even better than that. It's 1 in 5.
1 in 5.
Yeah, that's incredible. So 1 in 5 is resulting in a closing, either because they repeated or referred. And now the reason that that's happening is the 62 touch, right? So now let's dig in a little deeper to the 62. You mentioned that you do a mailing piece at the beginning of the month. on
Right.
the 1st. You do an email on the 15th. And then you also have 4 events throughout the year that you're probably making multiple contacts on. I'm not getting up to 62 though. How did the 62 happen? Help us out.
Now, a quick word from our sponsor, Real TV, Real Estate Agent Lead Generation Television, where top agents reveal exactly how they create consistent flows of home buyer and home seller leads into their practices every month. Need more leads? Hit the pause button right now. Open Google and search Real TV. That's REALG.TV. Now, back to the show.
Well, because there's a lot of conversations of, hey, did you receive the invitation? Or, hey, save the date. Don't forget our annual Harkins movie theater parties coming up March 27th. This year, we're going to feature The Avenger. Be on the lookout for the invitation. Fast forward 10 days later. Hey, Mike, it's Scott. Just wanted to check in. Did you get our invitation? I'm really excited to see you and the family. In fact, can I just RSVP you now since I got you on the phone? And that way you don't have to send anything back in the email, and Monica will stop bugging you. And then if they say, yeah, then terrific. Or if they say, oh, let me check with the wife or whatever the case might be, then again, just send the invite back, the RSVP, email us. And then once they say yes, then while everyone will say yes, getting them to show up is a lot different because life happens, events happen, family. And so we've realized in that last 10-day push leading up to the event, it's almost every single day, either a text, email, or phone call goes out to make sure that we stay top of mind. We understand that once they get there, they're going to enjoy it. They're going to have a blast. But they also go, oh, something came up or they're tired. You know what? Scott's not going to miss us. That's okay. But when you're sponsoring Angel Dodger baseball games and they RSVP for 4 tickets, that's over 100, that's $120 something per family. So we need them to come. Otherwise we have all these goodie bags and empty seats. And so, yeah, we got to drive it home and make sure that they come to the event. That's all those touches. I mean, actually Monica and I were talking about this the other day because we were on a panel. It's actually about 100 touch. I mean, after all of the calls and text messages, but we don't count those ones necessarily.
Very good. So let's talk about the events. You're into the idea of the invitation and getting them there. How many invitations do you send out, and in what form for each event?
I can say our last ones have been more about digital invitations, Eventbrite. We have done though cards, formal invitations too. I think it just depends, truthfully, on what the event is and the timing on it. How far before the event do you start inviting them, and how many invitations go out before they say yay or nay? Gosh, I should have Monica on this call. I would say we're at least giving the save the date for our big events 60 days in advance. And then the invitations themselves are going out at probably 5 weeks before the actual date. Because again, a lot of the prep work, we need to have the RSVPs at least 3 weeks before the event so we can secure the seats, the theater, whatever the case might be, and start working on the goodie bags and the takeaway items.
Scott, this is really cool. Thank you for walking us through that. So there are quite a few invitations. You're starting at least 60 days out on some of these events. Tell us, what are the events that you're doing throughout the year? You said you're doing 4 of them. What events are you doing? What's worked the best?
The first quarter is generally a movie theater because the blockbuster movies usually come out in March. We've been doing that for a while. Summertime, we've done a beach party. We have either like a food truck or it's catered. The third quarter, we do Monday Night Football at a local pub. We reserve the second story. We have just appetizers and drink tickets. And then our quarterly party, it's usually the pie party. And we've been doing that for 6 years at least. But this last year we transitioned and we actually had it at my partner's house, Jessica. And we had a professional photographer who was a past client, and he would take photos of the kids, and then they would receive digital copies at the end of November so that they could buy their Christmas cards or holiday cards to send out to their friends and family. And then
Nice.
after each event, we would give them show them a token of appreciation. So for that instance, what we did is we would take one of their pictures and we put them in these nice frames. And then the agents on the team would take their sphere of influences, their clients' frames, and then they would do pop buys and drop them off at the house to thank them for joining us and being a part of it and supporting our growth. And then that's where you really just say, hey, if you know of anyone who's ever thinking to buy or sell, I'd appreciate you. We'd appreciate the opportunity to earn their business. And that's where we kind of just ask for it or remind them that we'd love to work with their friends and family.
For these events, how many people typically show up, and what is the cost, the total cost or cost per person?
So the movie theaters, depending, the smallest theater that we can capture is 92 seats. And so again, we'll invite as many as we need to fill it up. That movie theater with all in is just south of $3,000 to get the theater. And then, but we bring food in. So breakfast, the movies generally start Sunday at 11 a.m. We have the entire theater to ourselves. We'll set up tables out front. We'll give them their goodie bags. Inside the goodie bags, they've got their full Red Vine, Sour Patch Kids, depending how many kids, so it's all done purposefully. And then we get these popcorn and drink tickets so the kids can go and get their own popcorn and drink on their own. And then when they walk in, we have a little stand-up, one-up, where we take a picture of the family in front of the sign. They go sit wherever they want. And at the very front of the theater, between the aisle, we have a pile of breakfast burritos, all different kinds with the salsa and coffee for the parents. And then the kids can grab additional drinks or waters in the coolers. And then they find their seat. And then I get on the mic to thank them for joining us. And then we give away generally Clipper tickets, Laker tickets, and Los Angeles King tickets. And if there's a concert in the town and I had bought some tickets on that, then we gave out Drake tickets in the past, then we'll do that too. And then we watch the movie and they go on their way. We don't stop them. We don't try to, hey, wait, we don't ask for business. We don't talk business at all. It's just really creating an experience and creating a lifelong client, again, to earn the right to their friends and family.
I
We
know
want to
that
be their go-to source.
I notice you keep saying tickets, so that must be a big thing for you, that you get all these tickets to all these sport events and other events, and you like to hand those out.
Yeah, that's when they know that now. Every event, they know we're giving away Laker, Clippers, or Kings tickets for sure.
And the reason is because the reciprocity, right? You're giving them something, they'll give you something back. Plus, you get to offer these tickets to 10 people and only one accepts. So you get to go out and touch 10 people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now, so we've got events. You've got the movie event. Tell us the cost of some of the other events. Like when you go to the beach, how many people show up? What's the cost?
The beach party is probably one of the cheaper ones. It's more labor intensive, lugging all the pop-up tents, tables. It's very time consuming for us, which is probably why we haven't done it as of late. But they're all generally around the same price point. I would say our biggest one is typically our fourth quarter pie party, because it's at a country club, a golf course, and we reserve a room. I think the most we've had is about 125 people come through, and that's usually about 90 pies, from Costco, the big pumpkin pies. They put them on a pallet for us. We've got it so dialed in that we call in early. They don't put those big barcode stickers on them because we used to spend hours peeling those off, and then we mess up the cellophane. So now we call in, and we've learned that they won't put those stickers on them, and they'll put them off to the side. And then we just line up and decorate this room at the golf course. Again, we have professional photographer, coloring contest for the kids, hot cocoa stand for the kids, past hors d'oeuvres. And then there's a little bit of outdoor, so the sliding doors open up to the golf course, but there's a fenced off area where the kids can run around in the grass. So it's a lot of fun. And that one will cost, that one's a little bit more expensive, but I would say just shy of $3,500, $4,000. But here's the thing though. Our preferred lender is the member at the country club. I am not. And he reserves it for us the Wednesday before Thanksgiving every single year. It's like clockwork now.
That's great. So what I'm hearing is that basically you're spending on average around 3,000, a little more, a little bit less per event. You're getting about 100 people there each time, and you're doing it 4 times a year, so it's about $12,000 in total cost. But it's bringing in a ton of business because of all these contacts. 80% of your business. So on 750 was that about 600,000 in GCI off a $12,000 investment. Now, of course, you have a few other things that you're doing, but it seems like a pretty good ROI.
Yeah, I you know, our coach helped us identify this actually, where they broke it down, Monica, Jessica, and their coach. And, you know, we're looking at the Zillow leads and how the internet world is really the leads are getting so expensive now, and it keeps going up. And so we're spending anywhere from 75 to 125 per lead. And we realized doing the numbers, we're like at a 3-to-1 ratio where we used to be 7, 8-to-1. Then we did the numbers on our SOI, and we're tracking somewhere around 35-to-1. So every dollar we give in Zillow, we're only getting 3 back. Working our client appreciation price, for every dollar we invest, we're getting 35 back. And so our coach said, you guys need to start casting a larger net and inviting more people to these events. You need to start succeeding more through others, not chasing these cold people who aren't committed to us, who don't know us, who don't necessarily care for us, like us, trust us. You know, that's earned over time, but which is fine. It's obviously a longer tail game.
Absolutely. This is great. Thank you for walking us through your 62 touch program. It sounds like it's working very well. What kind of database do you use to track all these people? What kind of software?
Great question. So right now, we were big time Boomtown clients for a number of years, and then we transitioned over to FirePoint to save a few bucks. So we've been with FirePoint for the last 18 months. Everyone lives in FirePoint right now because, as we know, agents are not detailed. We do not update the address book. We do not update their email addresses when it bounces back. It's very messy. And so agents have access to their own account within FirePoint. However, when they become a client, they go into Referral Maker Pro, which is Brian Buffini's system. And only Monica has access to that CRM system. I don't even have the password because it's good data in, good data out. So that's what we call the data bank. That's our gold mine. She's the gatekeeper. And all of our addresses, emails, contacts, birthdays, anniversaries, everything is in there and it can't be muddied up. So we're leveraging 2. Now, I just, as a full disclosure, being Keller Williams agent, we are taking everything from FirePoint and we're transitioning it as we speak. We're running parallel and we're loading it all into Command.
Okay, Command is a specific program for Keller Williams.
It's, the proprietary CRM system that Gary's been working on for the last 4 years, invested over $1 billion into it. Artificial intelligence, game changer.
Well, we'll have to touch base and see if it works well for you in a year or two, see how this thing plays out.
Absolutely.
I want to ask one other question. Do you ask specifically for referrals from your folks? And if so, when and how?
Absolutely. Every time we do a pop by, most definitely. Generally during the buyer consultation, if it's a brand new client who we're trying to earn the right to their business, you know, it's part of our value proposition that we're looking for clients for life. You know, we understand that you have choices and it's our goal to exceed your expectations, because at the end of our time together, I'm going to ask you for a 5-star review for you to share with others to help us, because that's how you found us. And so we would love it if you would help support us and share your experience. And then in addition to that, we would love to earn the right to your friends and family. And if we fall short on any of those areas, you're not going to refer us to your friends and family. So we want to make it right. So that's kind of a value proposition of we're setting the expectation. So that way they don't pigeonhole us in a corner about, oh, all these agents are the same. They just want the commission. That's not true. We really are in the relationship business. And I think that's what keeps experience or agents to continually grow is, and stay in business, is having a database. If you don't hone in on that database, I feel it's like you're still an independent contractor just chasing the deals. It's not predictable and it's not scalable. You don't know where the deal. But when you create the system and you know your numbers, you can start modeling out how much, if I want to do this much, here's how many more people we need to add to the database in order to achieve that. And you can start kind of forecasting what the business is going to look like.
Scott, you have now created the 7th level team that doesn't need you to be there every day for the last 3 years, although it continues to operate, and you continue to understand what's going on in there. But this has freed up a lot of time for you. Some people would hear that and they think, well, Scott's going to go to the beach and just hang out on the beach and drink margaritas all day. But I'm under the impression that you've done other things with this free time. Could you tell us some of the other things you're doing in the real estate space?
Sure. So I am a partner in our Long Beach Keller Williams office. That market center is number 1 in the state of California with regards to profitability. We're up to 375 agents. We profit shared $700,000 with our agents. We spun off, opened up another market center in the city of Cerritos. When my partner was over there, he had brought that office to number 4 in the state of California with regards to profitability. I always share that not to impress anyone, just to impress upon the fact that our leadership team focuses on the P&L, profit first. Now we spun off and then we opened up another office just a mile and a half away from Cerritos in La Mirada. And I've been hanging my hat there for the last 13 months. And we're up to 130 agents. And so my primary focus as the CEO of the company is to attract like-minded talent and continue to create value for our agents. And then I coach our top agents. So that's I love the coaching aspect because that's why I'm still in it. I know exactly what's happening in the market. I'm heavily involved, even though I may not be writing the contracts now or reviewing disclosures. All of my conversations are about day-to-day events or struggles or challenges that our agents are having, and then walking them through or helping them or asking questions and coaching them through the process. Then I also launched some things on the horizon are coaching. Since I coach about 20 agents now, I'm going to take the path to become a Keller Williams MAPS coach, and then I'll do my own. Either I'll align with MAPS or I'll decide to just go off on my own. I have a virtual assistant business based in the Philippines. It's really more or less friends and family. I've seen how that's benefited our business, my business. We have VAs for my market center, for my own personal team, and I have a VA for my coaching company. So I've got these people working behind the scenes, and the output for the cost is I want to just share it with everyone. And so slowly we started, hey, I heard you got your VAs. How's that working out? And then we started referring all these people. And we're like, oh, maybe we should kind of create opportunity for us. And so now, we only have about 10 clients, but we're starting to grow. And it's just based on friends and family or agents within my market center who want to add leverage to their business. And we'll find them a VA.
For an agent listening, how much does a virtual assistant typically cost?
On average, like our competition, you're going to find for a full-time admin or outside or inside agent around $1,800 a month. We are around $1,100 a month though, because I'm not doing marketing. I'm not pushing this out to the masses. It's just, again, word of mouth. So I don't have overhead. I don't have, marketing budget. And so we run lean and mean, and there's a little bit of profit for us that makes it make sense for us to do this. But again, it's really just offering it to my agents as another value proposition to them.
And $1,100 a month, that's a full-time position?
It's a full-time.
So that's somebody who's earning about $250 a week, about $50 a day, 8 hours a day. It's about $6, $7 an hour.
Pretty good.
That sound about right?
Yeah, I think it's about, yes, that's the all in, but then there's if you cut it down to what we actually pay the VA, their hourly is a little bit less, obviously, in order for us to have a few bucks.
You got to have some management and put the whole thing together and keep controls in place and so forth. But I was just wondering for the end user if they could get an idea how much it's going to cost. So can they get a virtual assistant that works hourly, or do they have to buy the whole month?
They have to buy. It's one, we don't do part-time. We tried to offer it, but then one person wants to hire them full-time after they see the value behind it. But then that agent or that VA is working with two. We can't necessarily take them away. So it got too confusing trying to pair people up on a part-time basis. So it's like full-time work, $1,100, locked and loaded, 40 hours a week, no hourly, no package deals for 10 hours a month or anything like that. Again, we're trying to keep it simple.
And is the VA trained in real estate tasks? Do they already know what to do, or does the person who hires them have to train them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do target college graduates. They have a degree and they have real estate experience in some capacity. Now, what we do is we send out a questionnaire based on what are your needs, what pieces of technology, Mike, are you using, and walk us through what does that look like. And then we are trying to attract that person. If they have some capacity or experience in that field, but not 100%, you get to interview them and see how you get a DISC, a behavioral assessment, and a resume, so you can ask questions, you can role play with them to see how you like it. And then if you say, you know what, they're pretty good, it would be great if they knew exactly how to leverage Mojo and upload, and we can take that on and we can train them in those fields. So there is like a 4 to 5 day training period where we will learn their CRM system if we don't, because they all work very similar to each other, whether using Lines Desk, Firepoint, Boomtown, Follow Up Boss.
Now, if I understand correctly, you'll have to help me out. I believe you said the Philippines, which I think is a U.S. territory, and they'll speak English pretty well. Is that all correct?
That's correct.
Okay, yep. Good. So these folks, you're not going to have a language barrier or even an understanding of general concepts. They're all in the same tune as people in the U.S.
Yep, that's right. I mean, people will tell you those that are, some will say, oh, don't they have an accent though? And that's the story they're telling themselves of preventing them to move forward. Sure, some of them do have accents, but the reality is they can convert too, though. They're scripted just like you and I are. And
Sure.
And what's interesting is they have a full 7-8 hours to do it. That's their one thing. We do it when we can, when we have time, and we can find plenty of excuses not to make those calls, to sabotage ourselves, to do other busy work, but it's not necessarily productive.
Well, that's interesting. So what kind of tasks do you have these folks do? You said make phone calls, do paperwork?
Mine do everything. They do it all. I mean,
anything that's not required by a license, right? So they can't negotiate a contract or virtually show a property, I guess.
Social media, database entry, maintaining client appreciation parties, invitations, all the labor-intensive things that are very time-consuming that most people don't like to do, or we tell ourselves we don't have the time to do. So whatever you don't like to do and it makes your skin crawl, you should leverage that if you can. Just get it off your plate.
Scott, if somebody wanted to learn more about your virtual assistant company, where would they go?
Appreciate that. It's Virtue Leverage, VIRTU Leverage, virtueleverage.com.
Virtueleverage.com?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you for walking us through that. Well, Scott, we've heard about your current business, this 7th level business, and people are going to ask the question, are you profitable?
Yeah, we are. We're running about a 25% profitability margin. Again, there are ways that we could probably fine tune it, but speaking with other leaders, depending on the size of your team, if I came back into production, my profit margin would go up, right? Because right now I've got to give a piece of everything to somebody. So everyone's hands are in it, which is fine though, because you can't have both. You can't have you can't have your time back and still all of the money. So I'm buying my time back. So my splits with Jessica, who take the listings down, for my sphere of influence, we have an arrangement, a split. And if as we scale to grow, if we have a marketing person or another W-2 employee, the profit margins get smaller. If we want a listing coordinator, yeah, we could get it. Just the margins are going to shrink even more, which means your cut's getting a little bit squeezed too. So we try to hold them accountable and run lean and mean, but we are at a 25%.
That's pretty good with a 7th level business where you're stepping out of production. you mentioned that you have one of the folks on your team take the listings and it's at a different rate. What are you paying out on listings?
Well, if it's my SOY, I just do a 70-30 split with her.
Okay, so 30 to her, 70 to the core business, to the team?
To the company, that's right.
The company. Okay, that makes sense.
It's probably a little healthy, which is, I think when you pencil it out, ideally it would be a salaried 70,000, 75,000 salary plus maybe 10%. But I'm not going to unwind it because it works for me. And as long as she's happy too, I'm not saying I'm overpaying her either. I'm just saying if I reflect back to the model, that one I kind of did my own and it's worked over the years. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Scott, what drives you?
Wow. Opportunity. I love creating things. I love connecting people. I love to see people succeed. That's what's keeping me in my current role of why build this office? Why build a new Keller Williams office? And it always comes back down to the people. I love being around the same like-minded people. And when you put people like that together in the same room, my mentors, that's a direct result. Number one in profitability in the state of California, my Long Beach office. Josh Spitzen in Cerritos, number 4. That means that it's the agents. All they did was put people together. It's the people that created the opportunity for all of us. And so it's just driving the culture and just creating a winning attitude and a winning team. I think the people around me, we get fired up around that stuff. We truly want to see each other win. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Hey, Scott, I have a quick question for you. You mentioned you're doing some coaching. Could you tell us where people would learn more about that?
Yeah, it's www.coachkato.com.
Very good. And that's Kato.
That's right, coachkato.com. And they'll find some added value. I shoot videos of hoping to help agents. The questions that I see that are coming up over and over, I'll answer those for you guys. And if there's a video that you'd like me to cover, I can certainly do that too.
Very good. Well, Scott, if you were going to advise a brand new agent just getting in the business, what would you tell them to do first?
Get your database together. Get an Excel spreadsheet. Get a minimum of 100 people. Full name, address, phone number, and email. Get them into your CRM system. Start making your calls. Start setting up your drip campaigns. Got to take market share, top of mind from the people who know you, like you, and trust you already.
Very good. Well, Scott, I've come to the end of my questions for today. Do you have any parting thoughts for the listeners?
It's all mindset, right? Everything we do, whether it's specifically as an entrepreneur, if the mind's not in the right place, the actions are not going to follow. So sit down, think about exactly what is it that you want? Why real estate? What's that going to do for you? Most people say, well, it's because of the money or it's the autonomy to come and go as I please, which are all true. And if you don't show up and you don't put the work in, then there is no money and you will go back to getting a W-2 job. So just sit down, get a piece of paper, clear your mind, and just figure out what is your big why. What's going to motivate you to roll out of bed every day for the next 6, 8, 9 months, however long it takes you to grind and make those calls and find someone who wants to either buy or sell a house. And it all starts with the mind. Got to start with the mindset and then go to your big why.
Very good. Well, Scott, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you coming in and talking with us today.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Scott. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for joining us on Success Calls. Keep moving forward. Bye.
If you like the show and want to know when the next one's coming out, click the subscribe button. And if you want to hear more episodes like this, give the show a 5-star review and write a quick comment. I read them all, and it motivates me to keep going and share the top agent success stories with you. Thanks. If you're looking for more ways to generate leads, check out our sponsor, RealGTV, Real Estate Agent Lead Generation Television, and their giant database library of video trainings where top agents reveal, demonstrate, and discuss their best lead generation methods. Visit RealGTV, RealG.tv mastermindagent.tv. If you're low on funds or just want to get the maximum leverage, check out my masterclass webinar titled Top 5 Free Lead Sources for Real Estate Agents. Learn more at freeleadtime.com. That's freeleadtime.com. Oh, and if you have a real estate friend who needs some inspiration, tell them about the Success Calls podcast. And don't you forget to subscribe right now to hear all the great top agent ideas. Keep moving forward.
You've been listening to Success Calls on the Mastermind Agent Network, where top real estate agents from across North America reveal their success secrets, strategies, and systems in up-close and personal interviews. You can find all the calls at www.mastermindagent.com.